export an Excel file. Excel is the lowest common denominator, and a lot of the people that we work with are very comfortable with Excel, so this gets a lot of use. But some of our more sophisticated clients have their own web services application. So they have a database that says, here's a list of spaces for a school district, and we can actually suck that data in and create that building just from a table. Because this is what that three-dimensional building that we're looking at in Google Earth would look like in Excel. It's a list of spaces. The minimum information that we need is what's the name of the space, and what floor are you on, and how big are you. And then there's a lot of other attributes that can be associated with that space. So if we wanted to add another floor to this building, I could say, well, I really want this this office to be on the 7th floor. This is a 6-story building right now, so I'm going to make it on the 7th floor, and I want to add another, on the 8th floor, a restaurant. I'm typing with one hand here, so it'll just be kind of messy, at 4,567 square feet. That's the minimal information that will start a project. So if I save this Excel file now, and the first thing that we do with our Excel files is we throw them away. There's no reason to keep it after you upload it to the server, because then you get into discussion, what version of Excel are you looking at, or what version of PDF? If it's all live, there's no reason to keep any version. You keep just the live version. So I'm going to go back to the site plan now, and I'm going to actually create a new building from an Excel file and place it on the site. And that building will have all those spaces. So I'm basically sucking all the data from an existing building, and imagine I've added a new 8th floor and a restaurant on the 8th floor, and I'm going to import it back into the site like I'm designing a new building. So I'm going to import a new building, browse to that, let's see if I can remember where I saved that Excel file now. Let's go back to this. Oh, I know where it is. Okay. It's in my downloads folder. Yeah, 1258, there it is right there. I'll import that. So it's pushing it up to our server, which happens to be in Nevada. It's created an 8-story building. It's listing all the spaces, including the restaurant that I just added, 4,567 square feet, and I'll call this the connectivity building. Connectivity building, okay. Save and close that. Now it's actually going to place that on the site, and I, as the designer or planner, can actually say, okay, how is this building going to fit on this site that we want to place it right there? It's a connectivity building. If I open that building up, then in that building are going to be several hundreds, I think there's about 500 spaces in here. They're all lined up based on color coding, so it's actually going to start showing, if I want to say show it by department. In fact, it's even picking up the sensor data. I copied the sensor data as well too, so it's actually showing me the sensors. But there's a department color coding, and I can start then moving this around. It's as simple as starting to say, well, is this going to fit on this floor? And I'm being kind of messy here, but basically you can start stretching things around. It maintains the aspect ratio and the square footage, or I can say I want to break it and create a bigger space here. And let's create a report for this space. It's going to start showing me a facility report for this particular building. This is a new building that we just created. All kinds of reports. There's tons of reports that come out of this. Tons and tons of data that's just generated just from that simple placement of the building. It has all the latitude and longitude set in it. So if I were to take it out to Google Earth now, let's export this whole multi-building site out to Google Earth. Well, actually, I don't even have to export it out. This site is, I believe it's going to be tied live to, let's see if this works. I'm not being kind of messy here, but right here, real-time energy use. I placed the building somewhere around there, I believe. I'm going to go ahead and refresh this. Let's see. Yeah, long pause there. Steady refresh. So it's going to the server, and let's see if I save this. Let's save this. So it's basically going back to our server and pulling in that data. And where are we? Connected, there it is, right there actually. Right there. There it is, the new building. We kind of have to demolish this building to get it in that position, but it's showing me the massing, the floor plates of that building. Then if we say, okay, well, I want to see the actual spaces of that, let's see, connectivity building, and say export that as a Google Earth file. I want to export the color-coded, or just even look at it, the 3D here in the browser. So there's a browser-based, I was showing you Google Earth as an application, but this also has an inline web-based Google Earth viewer that's going to pull from the server land the building on the right site, color-coded by department, show me the spaces, and load those in. So it's going to, there it goes. So there's the spaces, there's the floor, the spaces that I moved around. If I click on these, it starts to report data on those as well. So this is all coming from just that Excel file that I started a few minutes ago. So I'm doing this with one hand too. So if I had a little bit more time, it could be a little bit nice, nicer layout. But and I'm doing this as one person. The place that we get the most traction is when you have 2 or 3 users, for example, or 100 users that are all collaborating and saying, we're going to design a city, or we're going to design a building, and we want to interact in real time. And we have people spread around the world. We want to collaborate through this. We also have linked, BIM mail actually allows you to send messages. So this system, the interface becomes like a social networking where you can actually send a message to others in the system and say, well, can you please please resolve this building. I'm sending this to my team in Pasadena right now, actually. I'll say test so they don't actually start working on this, but this is how we really work. I could be in a meeting like this and say, send that message. They get an email that points them back to this file. So they would actually see the data that I was just editing, and they would be able to continue with it. It completely changes how you collaborate on making decisions about very complex ones that have huge implications, especially in this early planning phase. This is going to be a 5-story, 6-story. There's a lot of issues related to putting a building like this together. There's city-related issues, there's zoning, there's cost, there's energy kind of discussions. So we start having those discussions early on, and even I did it by mistake, but this temperature and sensors that I showed you earlier in the building that was already complete, I basically said, we have an existing building over here that's using this kind of energy, we have sensors in it. I pulled that whole building and created a brand new building here, and it's still connected live to the original sensors, because I might be saying, well, that building functions really well or has some issues. Now we can learn from that to start designing and planning a new building. So you're learning from the past. You're not starting from scratch each time, and you're drawing from the different web services and service-oriented architecture from other systems that allows you to make those decisions on the fly. I'm showing you in the interface where I'm editing, but if I wanted to send a client and give them access to this, if it's shared properly, I can say, okay, I want to give you access to this system, and I'm just going to send it as an email, create a brand new browser right here, and I'm just going to paste that URL. This URL takes, if I go to the site plan around here, and our client might be looking at this, and they can actually see there's a new building I placed right there. And this is just a simple browser that's feeding off of our server, and if I click on that building, there's a Connectivity Week building, and you can start pulling up data about that, or say, let's look at the first floor of that building. First floor, I didn't say a review of it. So you can actually decide what they can see. I haven't given them access to this, but the first floor of the first building that we're looking at. So here's the first floor, color-coded by department, and this is also live data as well. So it's not just a graphic. If I was in there, remember I moved that piece of furniture? It's actually showing up here. So that link that's sent out as here's the planning that I'm doing, they're seeing the decisions that I'm making, as long as I decide to share it with them. It's really more of a permission-based thing that I want to share that information with the client. So keeping that as simple as possible. They can't move and edit anything. They can zoom around, they can look at another floor, they can color-code it by what's the floor finish in that room, or zoom into one room. I want to see the furniture in room 1027. There's the furniture. Click on a piece of furniture here, and it brings up the link to the webcam. So there's a live webcam linked again in another application. This is actually a concept with web services as well. We can actually, through another application, access graphics or data or reports into your own view, and that's exactly what we did with VROC. With connections to live sensor data, we're able to pull sensor data into our view, or even push that plan out if somebody wanted to create their own plan with that. So here at Connectivity Week, we're really excited because we were here last year. We were exploring these concepts last year when that was our first time here. We won a Buildy Award, and we started making connections with other people like Mike Lavelle and with VROC. So let's make that connection and bring it back to this year's Connectivity Week to show what's possible. We're just touching on the beginning of what's possible. We know that it can't be solved just by us, but with BIMstorm, we want to invite the rest of you to either connect to what we're doing, or work with us, or connect to your own systems.